he was the guy that changed my mind that therapy works.
But I had the exact same thoughts about it as all these other boys.
80.5% of therapists are female.
That's not the psychologist's problem.
You're tuned into the Better Bloke podcast. I'm Matty.
And I'm Rob.
We're just a couple of average blokes who started a charity with one simple mission: to fuck off suicide as the leading cause of death for Aussie men our own age.
We talk shit, ask the big questions, and chat with guests that have been through the ringer and have come out the other side with a story that's worth hearing.
Some episodes will hit you in the feels, some will fire you up, and others will just give you a laugh and remind you you're not the only one out there winging it.
We also run events, connect with the pros, and build communities, all with one goal: build better blokes without all that fluff.
All right, let's get stuck in. On this one, we're going to be ripping into why some men don't go to therapy. And now a lot of people just say blokes need to, or they got to. But the fact is, they fucking don't. So the thing is, we've been traveling around the country. We've been online for a long time, talking to more blokes than pretty much anyone. And we've kind of come to a bit of a understanding on the reasonings of potentially why. Because while some blokes do, a lot of blokes choose not to.
Well, do you want to clarify what you mean by therapy?
Therapy, we're talking about going to see a psychologist.
Yep.
Clinical, right? So we've spoken about different kinds of therapies. We can get into that later. But I'm talking about booking in with your GP, sitting down with the psych, and actually talking about your shit.
Well, I think it's not even just that we've travelled the country and we speak to blokes all the time. We are blokes ourselves. So we can relate to, obviously, some of the thoughts that are going through their heads as to maybe some, I don't know, some ideas behind why they don't want to do it, or maybe it's fear of actually opening up about it.
I would say the majority of conversations I have with dudes, I do ask the question, have they done it? Are they in it? What's the experience been? Definitely the majority. I'd say upwards of 75%. You kind of touch on it. And probably also the majority of time, they either say no, or they tried it and they didn't continue it. Sometimes, obviously, you get guys that say, yeah, it's fucking awesome. It's a lifesaver. It's good. But quite often, more often than we'd like, guys have negative experiences.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's definitely a majority, because a lot of the guys that are going to come up and speak to us when we're at these events, they're coming up speaking to us because they're comfortable with trying to fix what's happening. So we put ourselves out there in their spaces. They go, oh, Better Bloke Project? I'm going to go have a yarn with the boys. So for them to actually come up, they're already starting to unpack what's going on. We're not openly going out and, I guess, approaching and probing these blokes, which is something that we've spoken about many, many times. Men don't like if you go up to them and go, what's wrong? They're not going to tell you what's wrong. But because we're there, we're in their environment, they'll come up and they will openly say, yes, I have gone and tried a psychologist. It wasn't for me. What do you say to that?
So I think it's important that you don't kind of attack and judge these guys for that decision. We got to look at the reason why. And we've touched on it before, and there's multitudes of reasons for it. But the reason isn't because guys don't want to get help and guys are too scared to talk. That's not the reason. Like, we've spoken to enough guys to know that. And it's important to note that what we're doing here at the Better Bloke Project is being a bridge to professional services, or being a bridge to pathways that can help them. And we've said that may be therapy. We are not anti-therapy at all, but there's also a heap of other outlets, and we, I guess, recognize that different things work for different blokes, but we're attacking why is it that some guys are disenfranchised with traditional psychologists.
You know, I think just going off my own, I guess, personal beliefs or theories or thoughts behind it, I was always under the assumption that if I was going to sit down with someone and I was going to sort of open up and tell all my problems, that I was just going to sit there and be judged. And that's a big issue for a lot of blokes. They don't want to be judged. They don't want to get their brain analysed. They don't want to, I don't know, it's that V word.
Ooh. But that's much the same with, let's not talk about the mental side, but a doctor, right? So there is something lost in translation between getting your mental state fixed and your physical state fixed. I mean, I think there's a lot of guys that also don't go to the normal doctor
There definitely is. That's another conversation that we have, but we're not talking about that at the moment.
So, yeah, we'll keep to the psych thing. Yeah, the fear of judgment, and there's a fear of the unknown because people don't understand what to expect when they're going to walk into that office. That was the biggest one for me personally. I think I was pretty young when I first went, maybe like 24, like obviously not a kid and stuff, but I wouldn't even want to say I made a decision. My missus decided for me it was going to be a good idea. Again, not alone in that boat, I don't think, but I took the step to go and do it. And there was a lot of fear of unknown, and potentially that's tied into the judgment because you fear that you're going to get judged. I don't think it was a major thing for me. I think it was just a fear of what am I supposed to say?
Was it a fear in that sense that because you were pushed into it so you weren't quite ready yourself, or like what was that fear around?
I think with a lot of things you need to want the change to happen. And if you're being told to go and you're not recognizing properly the stuff, like obviously I recognized I had some shit going on, but I didn't think it was bad enough to warrant going to see a psych for whatever reason. I went kind of to appease, I guess. And honestly, it didn't help. Like at that point in time, maybe I wasn't ready for the change. Maybe it was the wrong psych. Maybe I just didn't stick with it long enough, but it didn't make any impact. And then it wasn't until later in life, I've spoken about this again, I went on my own terms, I found the right person, and then we started to actually make movement, and I realized, it was useful. So, yeah, there's a timing element of it as well.
Yeah, I think what you said there is that you wanted to do it, so you were the catalyst to actually going and doing it yourself. If you're going to push it, it's not even a bloke thing. If you're going to push anyone into doing something, you're not going to fully get the best intentions to doing that.
No, and that's across the board. If you want to quit drinking, you can't quit until you want to. That's why people hit rock bottom and that flicks something with them. They stop smoking after they've had the heart attack. You're not going to get the best out of a worker who has a shit wage because they're not motivated to do it, because they don't want to do it. So yeah, the actual want and the drive to change, how a person finds that with mental health, unfortunately, is when it gets to a stage, they're like, I'm not happy with the impact it's having. So I don't know, like.
Do you reckon that's more of a, I guess a cultural thing that we need to try and change between blokes, which is exactly what we're trying to do with having these discussions, is that, I think I've mentioned this before with, servicing the car analogy. We've got no issues in servicing the car and knowing that we need to sort of maintain the upkeep to keep it going, or else it's just going to blow the fuck up. But we only ever go to a psych when shit properly hits the fan. By that point, you're usually doing it out of necessity more than anything. It's not like a maintenance type thing.
Yeah, and we're a broken record talking about that. Don't wait to fix a house after it's burnt down.
Yeah.
Right. To kind of big picture this, I'm going to ask you the question, do you think most blokes would benefit from going to clinical therapy? Not do they need to or have to, would there be benefits of them doing it?
In the current clinical therapy side that we see, no. Honestly, I don't think so.
I disagree.
I knew you would disagree. The principle of it, yes. But do I think most blokes are going to be able to build that rapport with the majority of therapists that are out there and actually be able to get comfortable with it?
Let's talk about that, because that's a can of worms no one wants to talk about.
Yep.
So I got some statistics here. Let me pull them up.
Yeah, all right, here we go.
All right.
Make sure you cite your references because...
It's from APRA.
Okay, yeah.
That's the organization that's
the governing body
that they have to register with. It has all the data. 80.5% of therapists are female, 19.5% are male. The average age is 44.8 years old. If you were to go and see a therapist and you pick it randomly out of the book, you're most likely to end up with a middle-aged woman. Now, I do believe those women have the skills a lot of the time to be able to deal with the issue. But when we look at one of the reasons guys don't go is relatability. If they cannot find a psychologist that they're able to relate with, it makes it a hell of a lot harder for them. A woman is going to have an easier job finding that than a man.
Yeah.
And I think you can't gloss over that as a major factor.
And I've got nothing to hide in the sense that when I say that, that's not the psychologist's problem. Like that is the bloke's problem. The relatability factor in not being able to open up with, a middle-aged woman that's in that professional, I guess, space. That's not her issue because she could be the best at her job. It is a relatability factor for the bloke going, like, you're starting off on the back foot already. You're just going, fuck, how is she going to understand fully what I'm trying to sort of go through? And she might fully because she has dealt with it all with multiple clients. So she fully understands. But in their head, nah, not at all.
So I got two things on that from personal experience. So the first one I saw was exactly what I just described. It didn't work. Second one was like a 60-year-old man, and I felt kind of judged by him. That didn't work. The third time was a very relatable male dude, 35 years old, and I intentionally sought him out. He was the guy that changed my mind that therapy works. They are a lot harder to find, but potentially it's definitely worth the effort of going looking for them. Once I then understood therapy better, the next woman I saw was, I want to say mid-50s and super educated, probably more like the first one, but I had more trust in what I was doing. And that was great. Like, so she had every ability to make me feel like I should have felt, and I was able to talk through a lot of stuff. So yeah, I don't agree that those women cannot give the care, but I strongly believe it's a major factor in why we keep talking to these men that say, I tried it and it didn't work.
Yeah, I think if they can find that relatability factor with the first psych that they go to, even if that psych is not the best fit at that point in time, but it gets them comfortable with going, oh, that's not as scary as I think. And then they go and find, that 44-year-old female psychologist, which is statistically what you're going to find. She may be the best fit for them, but they've already broken down that wall about what seeing a psych does.
Mm.
So it's just that initial response puts so many blokes offside that they just write it off.
All right. So did you just negate your point about guys wouldn't benefit or no?
No, because I still think that they need to find the, I guess, relatability factor in it. And like I said before, that's a them issue.
I think the thing guys need to understand is the therapy, it's not going to change your life overnight.
Well, you need to do the work yourself.
Yeah.
The therapist will give you the tools to do so and make you, I guess, maybe look at it from a different perspective and go, oh, fuck, wait a minute. But they're not going to just give you a cheat sheet on how to crush life.
No, they'll just talk to you and get you to figure it out yourself. And for a lot of us that maybe do struggle having those conversations with whoever it might be, mates, partners, whatever, having that time to sit down in a room and just talk with someone who, like it or not, they got a degree, they know what they're fucking doing to a degree. It is going to be helpful. Like it's not going to hurt you at all. Like it cannot hurt. Even if it is the smallest little realization of, oh, actually when I do this, my missus does respond this way. So maybe if I did something a different way, it's still beneficial, right? So I think every person will benefit. I'm not saying it's going to change your life.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that then. So yeah, maybe that does negate my initial thoughts about it.
That's good. So
there you go. Look at you just changing people's perspectives.
Yeah, I hope I have, because like I understand firsthand. You feel like, man, it's like sitting in. Do you ever have to go get STI screens and you'd sit in that room and look around, going like, "Fucking hell."
No,
never did that. I know you boys have done that. And you'd be, looking around and feel like fucking kind of dirty and gross and stuff like that. A similar thing in a psych office. Like, you're looking around going like, what's wrong with that person? What's wrong with that person? And that's not right. I'm just saying that's how I felt, especially as a younger dude.
I think that's a human thing, though, isn't it? That whole judginess thing. But I think the stigma around that's definitely changing.
I hope so.
Well, it's no different. Sort of. I don't know. I went and had a session. I was a couple of months ago now, because I figured I can't sit here and talk about it without doing it. But I had the exact same thoughts about it as all these other boys that come up and speak to us at our events. And so I went, you know what? Fuck it. Let's hit it head on. And let's just go in and see what it's all about, because it has been some time since I have. And yeah, like you're walking in and you're just like, what the fuck's going to go on here? What's going to happen? And you sit down, and I guess the most realizations that I had wasn't even in that room. It was the drive home afterwards, where your mind's just going like, wait a minute, what about this? Wait, what about this? It's, I think it opens your brain to thinking in a different way and just having some realizations of yourself.
It's like listening to a podcast that triggers some extra thoughts, except it's kind of interactive with someone that knows what questions to ask. There's a preconceived notion, and I know we've spoken about this a few times, but that you're going to go in there and they're going to say, what happened to you as a kid? Or how's the relationship with the mother? Like, yeah, that could be part of it, for sure.
I didn't have that.
No, most people don't, because that's not how therapy works.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of talk therapy. There's a lot of different kinds of therapy. And it's not what you see dictated in the movies. I was watching Suits recently. And
Great show.
But I looked at it from a filmmaking perspective. When they want to get something in the story like told, they can just like insert, oh, this person's now in therapy and this person's telling their therapist that, because then they get to like tell that part of the story to the audience. And that's like kind of created a vision of what therapy is. But that's just in the movies. It's not like that.
No, they don't show you the thought process or the stress about trying to find the right one, or even just umming and ahhing. You're like, fuck, do I click that button to book it in? Or another issue that you see so commonly is you go, oh, have you spoken to a professional? I go, I can't afford that. That's the other thing that...
Yeah, so that then opens up the conversation. And I think everyone across the board, especially people that are super pro-therapy, don't think the government's doing a good enough job of making it accessible. You know, we're talking about the mental health care plan, the ability to get deducted or cheap sessions. That ends. How easy it is to actually get onto that. I think they've closed down a few other outlets of therapy. And then, of course, certain types of therapy are either more expensive or not covered. So cost is prohibitive.
Prohibitive.
That's a word, isn't it?
I mean, it sounded like it was. You sold it with conviction.
Yeah, great. But I mean, that's more of a system issue, which I'd love to say we can do more work on. And I think the government at the moment has promised a few things. We'll see how that turns out.
I think there's a lot of things in place that they are actually doing, moving forward with stuff. So it's good to see. It's just a matter of waiting. Nothing in the government is a click of the fingers and shit changes.
No.
A lot of legislation and all that sort of fun bullshit.
I want to take it back to the question I asked you before, but I'm going to put a twist on it. So I asked, would all men benefit from therapy?
And I said, no, not all men.
And then you kind of changed your mind.
I'm very torn about it.
They'd benefit even if it's in a small way.
They would benefit from it.
If they actually chose to engage with it.
Yes.
Right? To change the question, do all men need therapy?
Professional therapy?
Professional clinical therapy. I'll jump in and say no.
Honestly, I don't know. Like, part of me says like, yes, for like that maintenance preventative type thing, but the other part of me is like, no, and I think I lean more towards no.
Yeah, I think I can say no with a bit of conviction, because there's multiple ways to deal with your shit, and people have different levels of shit.
Oh, I completely agree with that there is multiple ways, and if someone can find a different solution to dealing with their shit, all for it. Like we've said time and time again, we don't care how you sort your shit as long as you sort it.
Yeah, you can't tell me there aren't men and women in their 50s, 60s that have lived a happy, healthy life, good relationship, done well in their career, raised a strong family, never been to therapy ever, and there's a problem with them because they probably have developed emotional intelligence, community networks, hobbies, outlets. If they've done all those other things and they've been able to do it without therapy, they don't need it.
Do you reckon that's it's a very overused term, and you know, it's cliche and all that sort of stuff now with, you know, the male loneliness epidemic. Do you reckon that there is more blokes that require it because they don't have those networks around them?
Yes. I think more blokes are happy to stand there and say, I don't need therapy because I do X, X, and X. I deal with my shit myself. I can internalize it. I'm stoic, but they're lying to themselves. It works for a bit until it doesn't work. I see that a lot with blokes. I'll talk to guys in those conversations. They say they tried therapy and it didn't work for them and they're dealing it with other ways. But it's like, bro, like, you could use this right now. It would be helpful for you to be able to get through what you're going through, because you clearly haven't quite got all those other mechanisms in place. So I think it would benefit all men, but I'm not saying it's a be-all and end-all. I'm not saying everyone has to do it, but you have to do something to keep your head straight.
I think what benefiting it from it would be that whole baseline theory where if you're at rock bottom, doing something is better than nothing. Even if it doesn't work, you're still at the same point where you are.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not going to hurt you.
No.
Might hurt a little bit financially, but by the time you get the mental health care plan, you can probably get it for free for 10 sessions. In 10 sessions, you can achieve a lot. Even if you have to pay a bit extra, it's not going to be much. You probably spend that much on coffee or piss or whatever. So I think that's a cop-out saying it's too expensive. Yeah, I think definitely try it. I think the major issue comes with guys that aren't at rock bottom. Like, most guys are just soldiering through, right? Just carrying on, getting it done. They're the guys we talk about that might need to look at it before it goes down to that point where they have nothing to lose.
Yeah, it's better to stay on top of it while you can instead of trying to claw your way back up. A little while ago, we had our very good friend of the show, Swifty, aka Jack, come on. And he lives rurally. And he went through his own story and his own shit. And he did reach out to professional services. But he said that rurally, it was just a shit show. And they lack it. Is there anything that you have to comment about that?
Yeah, of course. I think that's across the board with most professions. Like, unfortunately, the population doesn't exist. That's why they're rural. So it doesn't attract as much quality of care. So if you look back at the APRA stats and you look at the amount of therapists per 100,000 people, you see the highest density, obviously, in metropolitan, Victoria, Sydney. And then by the time you get to Northern Territory, or even looking at more rural areas of those major states, there's not as many. And obviously they're not commenting on the quality of them, but I think most people would understand there's some good ones out there, but there's probably some not as good ones.
With that then as well, because obviously a lot of blokes will be able to comfortably speak in person, but if you're in those areas where maybe it's not so easily accessible, you're going to be actually doing telehealth.
Yes, which they did do a lot of improvements too during COVID. Obviously, you lack like that in-person relatability. In one sense, that could make it easier. It takes the edge off it. So I think it's worth looking into still. I've never done that personally.
Yeah, I've never done it, so I can't really comment on it. But
yeah, but potentially that is something guys in those areas could look into. I can definitely imagine it would take the edge off having to walk into that office, which is cool. And I mean, it's a way to get access to better care. Swifty's not the only one that's mentioned stuff like that. We've seen, a bunch of guys just saying, like, if you live in a bumfuck little town, there's no psych there anyway, let alone a good one. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the critique of men and the shame given to these boys need therapy. We get it personally because people don't watch our full stuff, so they think we've never done therapy a day in our life, and they just see something we say, they don't like it, and their conclusion is, these fucking idiots need to go to therapy. I think that does more harm than good.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And there's a few assholes I know that do go to therapy. So just because you're in therapy, it doesn't mean you have moral...
You have a moral compass that points in the right direction all the time.
Yeah, you don't have superiority over everyone else just because you talk to us like. So I think there's almost like a demonization of people that don't go. Like, you see reels about it, like just shit cannon blokes that don't go to therapy. Like, maybe to a degree women, like that bitch needs therapy. But I think that's an interesting conversation. Like, is there a stigma around the people that choose not to go?
Yeah, I definitely think there is. I think there's a stigma around men that find, well, we see it with some of the heat that we cop. We're having conversations with blokes in their language and people go, no, that's not right. Why the fuck is that not right? I think it's just, if something is so far away from the normal way of doing things, or how everyone perceives to be that normal way, they don't believe it's right. Even if we're getting the proof and we're getting the show of cause as to why it is actually working, we're getting really, really good feedback and response from blokes and their partners and like their entire family. But because it's so different, they just don't agree with it. And that's the same as therapy. People just go, oh, that bloke's not going to therapy, he's not sorting his shit. That's not correct.
Yeah, it's not true at all. That leads us into, I guess, other kinds of therapy, right? And we spoke about it a little while ago, replacing the word therapy with outlet in a conversation we had about fishing, right? So what are some of the ways you've seen guys successfully unpack their shit, deal with their issues, find ways to talk about it, or just actually manage themselves to stay afloat? So when they say, I don't need to go to therapy, you believe them.
Fuck, how much time do we have?
We got about another 10 minutes. So
I'll try and get through as many as I can. There is literally so many outlets that blokes use. There is not one specific thing that you can go, oh, that guy over there, he uses this, so I'll use it for that guy. No, there is so much difference between what one person finds works and what one person doesn't. So fishing, as we spoke about, you've got all the boys that we speak to at Summer Nats. Their therapy and their outlet is getting out there and busting their knuckles up, trying to fix their cars. And then they go out and they break them. That works for them. And that is so therapeutic for them that, yeah, it probably gives them a shitload of stress at the same time. But it helps. You've got guys that like going on hikes, or even some of the boys we've spoken about that like to do ultra marathons and just put their body through immense amounts of pain, mentally and physically. That's their outlet. There is no right or wrong way when it comes to sorting your shit out.
There's a few wrong ways.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah. Great correction. Sink and piss to bury your pain, not the right way.
Methamphetamine to keep you up high, not the right way.
Not great.
Join in a jiu-jitsu crew. You can do that. That's all right.
You can do that.
You can do that.
There's nothing wrong with wrestling and cuddling sweaty dudes.
And that's something we've seen a lot is blokes are more orientated with doing things. So, we've partnered with the jiu-jitsu mobs, hunting and fishing, all that sort of stuff. And it doesn't matter if it's everyone going around to roll on a mat, everyone going out fishing or hunting, or a bunch of boys around a car trying to fix something that they've blown up. It's the same thing happening. It's community. It's talking to one another while doing something.
It's shared love of whatever it is that they're doing.
And it's the ability to bond over that. You want to make it all soppy. It's breaking down barriers and allowing them to connect with the other guys. That's kind of what's happening. Rinse and repeat in all these other blokey hobbies. When they go out riding motos together, I don't care if they're playing Warhammer in a basement, it's still blokes bonding over a thing.
You do care about that, though.
If they want to do that, do it. Do it. I wouldn't do it.
I'm all about it.
Yeah,
the boys play a Warhammer.
Pat, one of my best mates is actually one of the world leaders in painting those figurines. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers. Great bloke. I wouldn't do it.
Each to their own.
But that's what's happening, and if they're able to use a thing to create a community, create those bonds, create a place to speak, I think I've seen that work for men in particular, more than women, as an acceptable, useful outlet for their mental health.
Except furries.
I think there's something wrong with them. They should go to therapy first. So when it comes to the professional realm, right, the go-to thing is going in to see a therapist, right? That makes sense. It makes it easier. But I've also had a lot of personal benefit from accessing that sort of material. I mean, it's all out there. We've even had guys comment saying, I use ChatGPT as my therapist. You can read studies on certain things that you're feeling yourself. And I think there's definitely benefit 100% in self-education. And I know you've done a bit of that over the last kind of year. How does that resonate with you?
I think it all depends on the person and what stage of life they're in. Where a couple of years ago, before we were in this space and I was just sort of fumbling my way through it and just relying on the fact that, oh yeah, I'm not shit, I can listen to a guy. I had no issues with doing that. And I was very comfortable in sort of my, I guess, amount of knowledge that I had in the space. But then obviously as we've evolved into doing what we're doing, it was very important to do the research and educate myself on it. It just helps you understand a little bit more about not only the guys that you're dealing with, just say you've got a loved one that has said something to you and you're like, fuck, I don't fully comprehend what's going on. Google it. We literally live in a time and age where every bit of information is at our fingertips. Google it, get some understanding about it, and it'll help you understand maybe what's going on from a more generic sense.
Yes. If you were to jump online right now and go to the Better Bloke Project website, it's a simple thing. I'm not saying it's a big deal, but we have the Better Bloke Blueprint, which runs through the 8 or 9 emotions guys currently feel. Anger, depression, anxiety, blah, blah, blah.
Grief.
I said 8 or 9. It was an example.
Yeah, totally.
Right. If you were to read through all of them, you're going to start getting a bit of education about what they mean, what to do about it, stuff like that. And that's not only for your own benefit. Maybe your partner is displaying some of these things. It's going to help you understand how to deal with them better. So small amounts of education is definitely helpful. Another thing I've been doing is playing out situations with ChatGPT. Conversations I have to have with people, especially when they're going to be heavy. And I will dictate to it, and I will kind of describe the situation as much as I can. This is what happened. This is what happened. Then I'll describe that person. I'll kind of say what I know about them, how they react to things, how they've done things before. I did this last night, and it created me a table of likely responses to the question it generated for me to ask. And look, you could say that's manipulative, but I think it's a good tool for understanding people, and it's not dissimilar to what you do in a therapist office. Learn how to talk to your wife. Learn how to talk to the bloke at work. Learn how to do this. So if you are really up against it and you don't want to spend the money, you don't want to go see the GP, you can't find the right person, at least do something to start putting yourself in the right direction.
There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Nice response.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what else you want me to say to that, because it is. You've pretty much everything that we have said in this entire episode, you've just summed up in that response just there. It all comes down to you at the end of the day, though. Like, you need to want to do it. If you can't do it this way, figure out another way. There are so many different ways to actually sort your shit. One way might work better than the other, but you're not going to know unless you do it.
We don't want to do this one to death, guys. I think you get the point. We've spoken to thousands and thousands of blokes, and we've heard it all. We are not anti-therapy. We think it's a good thing, but we also think different things work for different blokes. Different strokes for different blokes.
It's true. Some strokes are long, some strokes are short.
Girthy, thin, different
Quick,
colours.
long, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as you're stroking, it's all that matters.
So we'll chuck some links in the description. We'll link the website where you can find links to certain professionals as well as the Better Bloke Blueprint. Other than that, just make some kind of step forward and you're going to be in a better spot.
Just do it. That's not actually our slogan. I think that's Adidas.
And yeah, just do it by Adidas.
Yeah,
Yep.
It is. On that note, be better. Thanks for tuning in. If you got anything out of this, be sure to show some love on whatever it is that you're listening on and follow us across all our socials.
If you want to know more, head to betterblokeproject.org, where you can learn about the programs we deliver, find out about upcoming events, and donate to the cause of building better blokes.